Lore Together is proud to be part of the Boss Rush Games Network. Feel free to find out more at bossrushgames.com/network. Hi, I'm Safi.
And I'm Mystic.
And this is Lore Together. This is the podcast where a husband and wife team go over all the world building, storytelling, and characters of video games. Because it's what we like to do together. We lore together.
Yep, and this is episode 111.
111. Make a wish, everybody.
Really?
I mean, it's like candles on a cake. Make a wish, right?
Okay, but we didn't do that for 99 or 88 or...
Those don't look like candles.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Did we do that for episode 11? I don't think so.
Absolutely not. We absolutely did not.
Before we get into the episode, however many candles there are, there's a few things to cover. If you'd like to contact us, you can do that in many different ways. Instagram, Mastodon, Reddit, YouTube, Steam, and Discord, all down in the description down below. If you'd like to contact us via email, you can do that over at loretogether@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support the podcast, and we hope you do, there's two ways you can do that. First is 5 stars, thumbs up, great reviews, whatever it is, wherever you're listening, we appreciate it. We're at 4.9 on Spotify now.
Yay!
With 29 reviews. So.
Thanks for the reviews, guys. We really appreciate it.
The other way you can support the episode is through Patreon at patreon.com/loretogether, where you can pay a per episode pledge to get early access to our episodes, early access to Let's Plays, which will someday be coming out, as well as voting rights for upcoming episodes, like this episode.
Ooh.
It's not, so we're not explicitly voting what's next, but patrons give episodes weight in my list.
That's fair. I like it.
As well as patrons get to vote for choices and consequences for Lorena Shepherd in our Mass Effect Let's Play.
And also, there are some mini episodes that you can only listen to if you're a patron. So we invite you to enjoy those. And there are more of those coming in the future.
Yep. And if you want to have a sample of the mini episodes, 2 of them are available in our backlog for the public.
For the public. But that's all you get. You have to pay to get the others. Ha ha ha. No, that feels really evil. I shouldn't have said that.
It's okay.
All right. Let me try to absolve myself from that evil mockery. And okay, I'm really bad at segues tonight, guys.
All right, well, let's just jump into you guessing what this is then.
Yeah. Give me the guesses. Give me the guesses. Let's go.
We are going back to a franchise.
Okay.
And it's probably the franchise that has the most or second most episodes we've done.
Okay. Are we going back to Myst?
Yes.
Are we doing Uru?
No.
So we've done Riven, we've done Exile. So what's after Exile?
Well, we've done Myst 4 already.
Myst 4 already. We did.
We're not doing a game.
We're doing the Book of Tiana?
Yes.
There it is. All right. This explains so much. Actually.
This is another 2-parter, as most of you probably have guessed, because it probably says part 1 at the beginning of your thing. So we're doing back-to-back 2-parters. This has been terrifying for me.
Terrifying? Is it terrifying because you're afraid you're disappointing people with all of the knowledge, or...
These scripts are so long.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so dense with stuff.
To be honest, the Book of Tiana, I think, will be less intimidating than trying to do a JRPG plot.
True.
It's probably going to be a little less convoluted, which is weird saying about a Myst story.
No.
But it's not less convoluted.
I'm going to be throwing a lot of names at you.
Pronoun.
Because there's more people in this one than in the Book of Atris.
Nouns and proper nouns and all that, that's not going to make things convoluted.
That's fair. But anyway, we have covered this franchise many times. We're not going to do a deep synopsis. If you want that, there's episodes 1, 2, 10, 11, 27, 56, 76, and our aforementioned mini episode number 1 was also Myst related.
Yes, it was. Yeah. We've covered this series a lot because we love it.
There's a prequel to the first novel, Book of Atris, which we covered all the way back in episode 10 and 11.
Yes, we did.
And we start this book with Atris, but that's A-I-T-R-U-S, not A-T-R-U-S like we have known the whole time.
So that feels like it should be Atris, I don't know.
So this is the Atris we know. This is his grandfather, Atris. Spelled differently, pronounced the same. So that's not going to be confusing at all.
Oh, interesting. Oh, okay. Great. So you're gonna have to help me keep up with this then, because you're reading the script.
So Atris does not the Atris that we know does not come into play until the Book of Atris.
Okay.
So all the times I talk about Atris, it is probably going to be his grandfather. If I reference something we've already read, I'll try to make it clear.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Atris is not. By the time we finish part 2, Atris isn't even a twinkle in his dad's eye.
Well, the Book of Atris starts with how Atris is born.
Yes.
So there's no reason we would meet Atris at this point.
Atris is a member of the Guild of Surveyors.
Okay.
They are cutting a series of tunnels up through the earth and rock from the Dunny Cavern to the surface of Earth. Hoping to make contact with the surface world.
Okay.
It's tedious work, and they are taking it very slowly and very carefully. They're basically using sounding and sonic waves and stuff to map the rock ahead of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They build in supports and cover the exterior of the shaft with Nara, a type of synthetic rock of their own creation that's stronger than marble.
Oh, okay.
Atris is tasked with chaperoning Lord Kedry, Guildmaster of the Guild of Legislators, as he visits the work that's being done here.
The Guild of Legislators.
Okay, so jumping the timeline a bit here, I knew that you were going to have a...
I want to know how this is structured. Yeah, I've questions on that.
The guilds are covered in more detail within the journals of Uru and Book of Dunny, but we do get a lot here as well. The Dunny have a lot of guilds.
Okay.
18 major ones, like the Guild of Legislators, Surveyors, Messengers, which is essentially delivering all the stuff, postal worker, essentially. Maintainers, which is the police force, though that is underselling what they do. We'll get to that eventually. And even among the major guilds, we're missing information. Like, we know there's a Guild of Archivists, and that name would imply librarians or something like that. Or the Guild of Engineers, but we have no confirmation of what they actually do.
Right.
You know, maintainers, you wouldn't think police force. So
right. So archivist could be something else entirely.
Right. We have no confirmation for some men beyond a name.
Okay.
We know even less of the 10 known minor guilds, but we're off track here. We can get to the minor guilds at some future time.
Yeah.
After Atris is done showing Kedry the excavation operation, during which Kedry comments often how slow the operation is going, he returns to his bunk to find a package for him. Inside is a pair of golden scales and a compass.
So when we're talking about scales, we're talking about for
weighing things. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
This strangely upscale gift, literally, Atris is like, it's not my naming day.
Oh, yeah.
Is from Viavis, one of his fellow students from school, as a way to make amends for a childhood of taunting and fighting. Atris writes him a thank you letter.
That's very kind of you, yeah. I would have just said, oh, okay, thanks, and never would have written a note. I'm like, you were rude to me. I don't need to write you a note.
Soon after, Guildmaster Telanus, this is over the Guild of Surveyors, asks Atris for his thoughts on Kedry. Atris says he kept commenting over and over about how slow everything was. Telanus says that they must impress their guests.
Okay.
Everyone's, people don't want to go to the surface, or if they do, this is taking too long. So to that end, he decides to move ahead without all the proper safety testing.
I'm sorry, what?
As you might imagine, things then go wrong. The drill head shatters when it hits hard volcanic rock and kills a young guildsman.
Yeah, I mean, just forgoing safety measures is always like a Chekhov's gun for any story.
Earthquakes also begin to shake the surrounding ground, and Atris surmises that they've entered a geologically active part of the crust.
Yep, that makes sense.
Fearing the whole project, years of work at this point, will simply be abandoned, guild morale plummets. Surprisingly, the council gives them a 1-year extension and a new directive.
Oh.
No more will they burrow these small tunnels through the rock. They are going to build a giant vertical shaft straight to the surface.
And how are we supposed to go up this shaft?
We'll get there.
Okay.
So, jumping the timeline again, we will see this shaft in Myst 5. It is a physical thing we will see at some point.
Okay, sounds good. For some reason, I immediately think of when you play Tears of the Kingdom and you go into the underground and you dive into one of those holes and you just hear that like music.
Yeah.
That's exactly
really
it.
Fun. Get to the very, very top part, the very highest you can, which is the platform above Lookout Landing. And from there, if you dive off the southern part, you can just make it into the chasm.
Oh my gosh.
That's south of Lookout Landing and go straight down to bottom. It's kind of a rush.
I'm not a bad enough dude to attempt that. I'll tell you that right now.
Getting up to that high point is...
I'm not a bad enough dude to do that either, so I'm going to have to take your word for it.
I'll share a video with you on the Switch.
Okay.
But yeah, they're going to basically carve this giant shaft. And if I remember correctly, from Myst 5, there is like a spiral that's around it, as well as carriages for certain parts. That's in Myst 5, though, which is... What is canon and what is not canon changes between the books and the games. We will get to a little point about that later.
Okay, interesting. I'll keep that in mind.
So, a little bit. This series of books,
yeah,
Book of Atris, Book of Tiana, Book of Duni, were all written while Riven was in development. This is part of that Disney Hyperion deal.
Yeah, and they were going to try to do basically the experience on the island situation and all of that.
And this one and Book of Atris both kind of worked pretty well. Book of Duni, when we get to it, it's going to be a little disjointed because they were under pressure because Riven was coming out. Mm-hmm. So they were a little bit rushed. David Wingrove, the person who writes with them, kind of did the best he could with what he was given.
Okay.
But it gets a little muddy in that one.
Okay.
But again, that's way back in Riven. Mm-hmm. There's actually a documentary that just was released for the remake of Riven. Not a documentary, a discussion, like a segment of a discussion. And they said during Myst, they finished it and they're like, we have no lore beyond, like, they write books. And so they were doing all of this and crafting Riven, like crafting all this lore, crafting Riven.
Which is also a huge chunk of lore as well.
And so there's retcons later on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to have to be retcons with that kind of process. I feel... This is why, though, Mystic and I have had this conversation because we write very differently. A lot of people refer to it as the difference between a planner versus a pantser. I'm a planner. I like having a good idea of where the story's going to go, kind of have like a checklist on it. I do an outline first, and then I try to follow that outline. Though sometimes I get better ideas and like rework, but I'm on the path. I'm following the plan. And then Mystic is seat of my pants, and he'll tell me something he puts in the story, and I'm like, but how do you justify that? And he's like, I don't know yet. I'll figure that out later. And I'm like, you can't just do that to me.
Your plan of action is only good until the first encounter with the enemy. The enemy is your characters doing something you didn't intend them to do.
I've been able to keep things back on track with the plot with my characters doing things I didn't know they were going to do. I've been able to do that.
Which is fair.
Mine
is kind of actually somewhere in the middle. It's not quite entirely by the seat of the pants.
But also, I'm the one between the two of us who better understands social situations.
No comments.
I'm sorry.
So anyway,
my husband's a lovely person.
The-
If you meet him, by the way, I'm not trying to begrudge him.
the Guild of Surveyors carve a giant chamber in the rock, and eventually these giant machines arrive to dig the vertical shaft. It's like these 4 giant tunnel boring machines, essentially.
Sorry.
Yeah, all the guilds are contributing. This is now a massive project. We're talking all sorts of resources are being pumped into this just to get it done now.
And who initiated the fact that this has to get done right away then now?
The council. So there's a council. There's 5 lords over the council. We will get to that. This is a very politic story at times.
Okay, I don't understand how the world is structured, so I'm trying to understand who's the kind of person who decides that we're now going to invest in this as heavily as we are now.
There's a legislature that is separate from the council.
Yeah.
There are lords over the council. It will...
It sounds like a weird feudalistic slash aristocratic kind of mix. Oligarchical? Maybe?
There's definitely some stratification here as well.
Okay.
Slowly they move up through the rock, but the closer they get to the surface, the more melancholy Atreus feels about it all ending. He's been on this project for years now, looking for adventure and the promise of the surface world, but he won't get to make the breakthrough. That's for the Guild of Maintainers to do, which makes a little sense.
Okay.
Luckily, Talanis says a small contingent of the team will be joining the Maintainers, and he has been chosen.
Oh.
Why this change of plans has occurred, though, is thanks to Viavis, who is Lord Rakari's son, one of the 5 lords of Dani.
Mm-hmm.
Furthermore, Viavis is going to be joining the whole team for the capping ceremony. Masters from all 18 major guilds are there, as were 4 of the 5 lords, as Lord Rakari was too ill to make the trek. After a night of toasts and feasting and a relatively short and simple capping ceremony the next day, most of the important people leave via carriages that follow vertical tracks built into the side of the shaft. These tracks and carriages were kind of temporary structures at this point because they're still digging.
But so we're thinking about it more like a construction site at this point.
It's scaffolding, essentially. Later on, though, a quake shakes the whole shaft below the digging machines. Talanis sends Atreus to the lower chamber, hoping to get help. With the stairs blocked by a large slab of stone, he is left with no choice but to climb the vertical tracks the carriages have been using. When he's about halfway down, another quake strikes, forcing him to hold on. As it subsides, he glances around, noticing that the great shaft, once thought permanent, they have very high expectations of their Nara stone.
Yeah.
Is filled with cracks.
Wow.
Though he's fine, a carriage some way below him is broken away from the supporting structure and will soon fall. Atreus can hear someone calling for help from within. Clambering down, he finds Viavis. His head has been banged, his arm is wounded.
Ugh.
As Atreus looks over him, Viavis dies.
No.
Atreus performs CPR, resuscitating him, though he is in no condition to move.
No, yeah, that's the thing about CPR. CPR is not meant for like okay, you're all better now. CPR is, I'm making sure you don't die so you can survive long enough to get to help.
Yes. Eventually, the carriage begins to fall, but suddenly stops, caught upon one of the large machines which had come up to rescue them.
Oh.
With the shaft in disrepair, the council ordered what had been done repaired, but the shaft would be sealed, and for now there was to be no breakthrough.
Oh.
Viavis, recovering from his injuries at home, tells Atreus that anything he wants, if it is within his power, ask and he will grant it.
It's true, he saved his life, that's fair.
Atreus and Viavis pledged to simply be friends, without obligations.
Oh, Atreus is an honorable dude.
We skip to the surface now. It's 1711 CE.
Oh.
This is about 50-ish years after the events we just discussed.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I believe. I think it's 50. Could be 30. It's decades at least.
It's been decades.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the southern part of modern-day New Mexico, then Santa Fe de Nuevo Mexico, a part of the Spanish Empire, we find a large cleft in the ground near a dormant and unnamed volcano. A geological analyst and his 18-year-old daughter, Anna, live in a lodge of sorts in a canyon doing mining analysis for hire for a rich patron in the near city of Tagenar.
So, can I ask, have we
Yes.
confirmed if this is based on a volcano that actually exists?
As far as I am aware, it is not.
Okay. Just curious.
That said, long dormant, so... I mean, when we get to Uru, we know where it takes place. There is no volcano there.
Okay.
As
That's
far as I'm aware.
I'm willing to, forego that. It's just one of those things I'm always curious of. How realistic did they want it to be? Or was it just like, well, this would be cool?
Yeah. Anna's mother died 6 years prior. Both of her parents were from Europe. We don't know where, but I'm going to guess Spain, given the year and the location. Mm-hmm. Though I should note, this taking place in the American Southwest, modern-day New Mexico, was likely a retcon, as the books themselves seemingly put the lodge and the cleft and everything somewhere in the Middle East.
Oh, interesting.
Because they talk about camel riders and men in black robes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So it would make... Interesting.
Yeah, so Uru kind of retconned it. It made some people angry, but what you gonna do? But we're gonna go with the retcon.
I mean, there's not really a lot of volcanic activity in the Middle East either, from as far as I'm aware. So
yeah,
that it wouldn't have worked out either way. It just wouldn't have made sense.
Volcanoes are also weird. Also, remember this takes place in the 1700s at this point, and it's been
true.
dormant. We do see it in Uru, but
yeah. Okay.
Despite her father being ill with fever in the desert,
what?
He's nevertheless out surveying.
No.
They discover a strange circular rock pattern in the desert near the cleft. They're not living at the cleft.
Yeah.
The cleft is a waypoint on their way to Tagenar.
Okay.
So, the circle seems as if it was affected by some vibration deep in the earth, but not from any earthquake or anything volcanic. They will leave it for later. Exhausted, they go back to the lodge. Her father lays down on the couch in the lodge and promises he'll take the next day easy and rest up.
I hope he wakes up. I'm really concerned because it's 1711 in the middle of the desert, and he has not taken care of himself.
Yeah. She knows it's too far a walk to Tagenar to get medical help or anything. It's a 3.5-day trip one way.
Ugh.
So she tends to him, even painting his favorite flowers on the door so he can see them as he rests. Mm-hmm. Small blue flowers. Over time, he actually gets better.
Oh, gosh, I'm so thankful.
When she makes the 7-day trek to deliver their report to their patron, she returns to find him doing much better. And in fact, he's made a discovery.
Ooh.
He found a tunnel in the circle filled with collapsed rock.
Oh.
He surmises that there was some quake or something a few decades prior to their uncovering the circle and tunnel. Over the next few days, they clear the rubble with hammers, and 8 days later, make a breakthrough. Wriggling through, Anna looks back to see him leaning against the wall, one hand on his chest. He says he's okay, and helps push her through the rock wall the rest of the way. She eventually finds her way through to a cavern, and her attention is drawn to a strange rock seemingly stronger than marble. She takes a few samples back to her father, who says he's never seen anything like it in his 50 years as a geologist. They plan to head out to check more in the morning, but you likely saw this coming. He dies during the night.
Yeah, I was waiting for that to happen. I hate to say it, but you could see that coming from a mile away, unfortunately.
Anna is numb.
Right? Yeah, that's fair.
She packs her things for the trip to Tagenar. She has spent her whole life in this lodge.
Wow.
And now everyone else is gone. She begins the trek to Tagenar, but as she passes the strange circular formation, she decides to have one last look. Because even if there's nothing there, at least she'll be satisfied that there's nothing there.
Right.
She finds the cavern under the collapsed great shaft and the giant machines, wondering why something from some ancient race could look so new.
Oh, interesting.
One discovery after another draws her on until she is hopelessly lost in the depths of the earth, but she's not beat yet. She marks her trail from that point on with pieces of paper from her journal.
Okay.
The Nara stone is too strong for her to make marks.
Notch it in. Yeah, that's fair.
Back to Denis. Atris, now 38 years old, is a master guildsman, the youngest in 7 centuries.
Ooh.
He's also elected to the council, though he is much younger than his peers. Most on the council are over 200 years old.
Oh my gosh.
Denis lived an incredibly long time.
Yeah, apparently. All right, elves.
Yeah, we're talking, I think, 300 years, 400 years, something like that.
Man. Yeah. Brutal.
Vivus has grown closer to him in the intervening years. The council is scheduled to debate once again the wisdom of making contact with surface dwellers. This is something Vivus is against, but Atris is not in agreement. Something he holds to regardless of if it damages their relationship or not. Before they can actually debate, though, a messenger arrives, and Elder Aenea says the choice has been made for them.
There we go.
Anna was discovered in the cave system. She is imprisoned and is to eventually come before the council for questioning once they are able to communicate with her.
Oh, that's right. She's not going to speak their language.
The Guild of Linguists will try to make sense of her strange utterances, as Vivus puts it. In fact, he suspects she will do little more than grunt. Most of the council just wants to toss her into prison age and be done with it, but Lord Aenea steps in, pushing for interrogation. Vivus says her arrival will unsettle the common people. To everyone's surprise, within 8 weeks of dealing with the Guild of Linguists, Anna is speaking a few Dunny phrases, and within 20, she is nearly fluent.
Ooh, wow.
In fact, she's catching them so off guard that they have let some bits of Dunny culture slip, promising a look at the Rehevkor, the lexicon dealing with Dunny penmanship, something prohibited to show outsiders.
Uh-oh. Why would you say such a thing?
Needless to say, she is curious to know more. To Vivus's dismay, Anna will be tried in a hearing before the whole council as opposed to just the 5 lords.
Okay.
Atris says that he should speak against her. Like Vivus should, if you want to counter her words, then you should speak.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But holds back from saying that he will support Vivus's words, only that he will speak the truth as he sees it in the hearing. Vivus thinks Anna merely a savage, immoral, and filled with beguiling trickery.
We have just met her, the first of her kind, first human from Earth that we've bothered to even interact with, and we've decided that she's a savage? All right.
Hours upon hours of questioning leave Anna, or Anna,
okay,
as they call her, spent. Vivus presses particularly difficult questions akin to, are all men on the surface honest? Which she counters asking if all men of Denis are honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which gets her a rebuke. Basically, the elder is like, you're here to answer questions, not pose them.
But I want to know what I'm dealing with here, man. Like, I have to represent all of humanity?
Right.
That's not fair.
Tensions grow, as you might expect, but eventually an end is called for this session. Anna is taken away while the lords decide what to do with her. Most are aligned with Vivus, but do not know what to do with Anna specifically. Basically, we don't want any contact with the surface. They're all dishonest, crazy, warmongering people, and that's what they get from her answers. But most of them are like, let's toss her in a prison age, and Aenea says she was honest. Would that be a just reward for honesty?
Exactly.
So they will sequester her in Denis until they can fully decide what to do with her. Vivus and his friends, including Atris, are celebrating, but Atris is still longing for that expedition to the surface.
Yeah, he's curious.
Yeah, so still idealistic, he can't join fully in their celebration. Just as well, it is with Atris's family that Anna will be placed, much to his surprise. It's a brief introduction. Anna is whisked away to her room by Atris's mother.
Okay. Interesting.
A week later, Vivus finds Atris and asks what the girl is like, but Atris hasn't talked to her. He's been busy. And he actually has been. He's been helping his father. He offers that she does seem unsettled. Everything is new and strange for her here.
Right.
Vivus then asks Atris to bring Anna to his home on Kvir.
This feels like a setup.
Yeah. Also, we've been on Kvir back in the Book of Atris, so it's kind of funny to see that come up again.
Oh, I'm trying to remember which one was...
That's where Gen's house is in Book of Atris.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yikes.
Before that can happen, though, Anna begins to explore Atris's home. Not for any malicious reason. Her impulse to explore and understand is simply too strong. Mm-hmm. She finds odd instruments and books, so she heads back toward her room, bumping into Atris. He says they need to talk, and then he brings her to the very room she was just exploring and hands her a book. A children's book on the history of Dani.
Oh.
Likely so she can be more settled, though he doesn't actually give a reason. However, it's a book she can't read. She was taught how to speak Dani.
Yeah, not how to read the language.
Not how to read it. So with that, Atris takes the book back and gives her another from the shelf. The Rehevkor. The Lexicon of Language.
Oh.
She says that once again, she can't read it, and he says he will teach her.
All right. Okay.
She asks if he's sure that it's allowed, to which he says, no, but I'll teach you anyway. Like he's not sure if it's allowed or not.
So he's just going to do...
I think he wants her to be at least able to defend herself.
Okay.
Like to have some understanding of who they are.
Okay. All right.
They head toward Kvir, and he warns her Vivus can be outspoken, but that she shouldn't be afraid of him. She claims that she's not afraid of Vivus. During the visit, Vivus claims that he actually does like her, even though he was not disposed to, and tells her that he is Dani, and proud to be Dani, and they are great and proud people, and that she should remember that at all times. She simply says that she is human, and proud to be that, and that he should remember that.
Yeah, that's fair too.
So they are just butting horns.
I think it's... There seems to be a lot of... I'm trying to find a polite way to say this, which is why I'm pausing here. But there's a lot of pomp and circumstance. There seems to be a lot of the important person who did the important thing and the important stuff with the important decision. Important. Like, that seems to be the level of societal class that we're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And they're now dealing with someone who... And this is true for a lot of people who are more studious type, who are like more believe that you should be weighed by your merit, what you have actually done. And so all these people have talked to her about like important things and you're a danger because we're too important to be infiltrated by savagery, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, can you prove to me this is exactly what is happening? This makes perfect sense why they're having a conflict here.
Yeah. On the way back, Atris asks her what she wants to do, and she wants to know more, and particularly wonders even where does all the food come from. It's like something is missing, and she can't see it. Mm-hmm. He promises to show her that night. So that night, he takes her to the book room, and there she finds a single large book on display. He tells her she must tell nobody that he brought her here. But he feels she has too simple a view of them. It disfigures her understanding of them.
Oh my God.
Which is an interesting word. She
disfigures her understanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then he takes her hand and places it over the image on the page, and she arrives, book growing around her.
Books, yeah.
She arrives in a new age, Koa, his family's age. She asks if this is a dream, and he picks a small blue flower and gives it to her, asking if dreams are that real. Later that night, she is still stunned, almost not believing it at all, but the pale blue flower sits in a water cup on her table.
Yeah, which of course it reminds her of her dad because that's close to the flowers that he liked too.
And of course we had tiny blue flowers in 3 different occurrences within Book of Atris.
I'm trying to remember those, but yeah.
So pale blue flowers are on his mother's grave in the bottom of the cleft.
Yeah.
They were in his first age, Inception, and in Catron's age of the Taurus.
Oh, yeah. I thought I remembered it for something with Catron. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just kind of one of those things that just keeps popping up. So
yes. Themes. We love a good theme here.
He had shown her the books of commentary for Koa, explaining that most ages have tons of commentary and observations, and the older ones, such as Nidir Gamat, owned by the Vievis's family, have hundreds of commentary books. He also tells her how owning an age and a licensed age, the Guild of Maintainers certifies ages in accordance with law,
okay,
is only for those in positions of power, but the guilds have their own ages, and there are public ages for the common people to use.
Okay. Interesting. So they have their own version of a commons that people share, but those of privilege don't have to share.
Yeah, and until Atris's father, I believe, was guild master. I think I could be misremembering this, but they didn't have their own age. They used the guild ages.
Oh, okay.
So you have to be someone of some rank to have access to your own age.
Right. That makes sense, especially if I'm sure we'll figure out soon how many people actually know how to write the art. If that's a limited skill, then it would make sense it's a limited resource.
Shortly thereafter, Atris tells Anna that Vievis is having his Corfava Ja, the celebration for finishing his first masterwork, a book that took 16 years to make. Now, we've had a Corfava Ja in Book of Atris when Atris finished Inception, his first age.
Yeah. How long did it take him to finish that one, though?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was not 16 years.
Right.
But Gen also was someone who didn't take his time either, so...
Yeah, Gen sounds like he's a product of the culture he barely knows. But we're going to continue. We'll see if I'm right on that assumption.
But Vievis is relatively young for this honor. There will be a huge celebration, and she should attend. She's wary, but soon finds herself on the boat toward Kavir. Things do not go great, however, as Vievis tells Atris's father, in private, that Anna is not to link to his age. She is not Danae. She can remain at the house. His servants will see to her, and...
So everybody else is going to travel, and she's just going to sit there? That's rude.
Atris's father tells Atris that it's up to Vievis who can link to his age, which is fair.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I understand that. And I guess he didn't explicitly invite Anna, but also still kind of, I don't know. I'm on the fence either way.
Atris says that this isn't right, walks up to Vievis and his father, Lord Ricari, and says that he is feeling ill and will need to leave before entering the age. Vievis stares daggers at him, because this is kind of a huge insult.
Sorry. Wait, I like how this is kind of an insult. It's like, I came here, but like, what if you sincerely, like, just had the tummy rumblies and you were going to have...
I think Vievis knows that due to the fact that he just told his father, like, he just told Atris's father that Anna can't go, that this is just...
Now suddenly you have possible mud butt, and now you're just not, like, going to stay. I'm just trying to think of the kind of illness that makes you say, sorry, I know I'm here at the party, but I'm actually going to go. So...
Vievis doesn't actually protest, though. Just, gives an angry stare.
That's fair.
Yeah. Atris leaves, pulling Anna behind him. On the boat back, she asks him why, and he tells her, we're leaving. It was an impossible decision. Vievis made him choose, and he chose her. When she asks why, he simply responds, because he was not right to make me choose.
So, this is kind of hard for me to understand and, like, sympathize with this Atris right now.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that we should treat all people like people. We should not assume that Anna doesn't know language just because we don't know what she's saying. You know, you have to study. And unfortunately, study her in a cage, so it's not even optimal studying. But you have to study to understand her, and you haven't gone up to the surface to do your anthropological, surveying. But at the same time, she can still have personhood and still be an unknown that isn't to be trusted right away with all of the things that make the Dunnies special.
Right.
Because, and she's also an alien. Like, let's think about it in terms of, like, if we were going traditional sci-fi, certain aliens have certain ways that their bodies are composed where that they cannot function in the same way that humans can. One of the best examples of this is the deoxyribose DNA for the Quarians and the Turians in Mass Effect, right? We can't drink the same things or eat the same things as them. We can't, even show affection in the same way in a lot of ways and stuff like that, merely because they're of completely different DNA structures. And we have to accommodate for that. If we're thinking about it in a fantasy setting, where a fantasy setting is essentially like going to realms through books, you don't know if this human can survive the trip. I mean, I think it's fair to say, like, look, I don't want to accidentally kill somebody.
That's not why he's doing it, though.
No, okay, maybe if I read the book, I would get the tone better about why he's not doing it.
No, Vivus is very much she's not deserving because she's not Dunny.
She's lesser than us. Okay, I mean, that's the part that I'm missing, because part of me is like, I could understand being like, hey, and also let's talk about party etiquette. They didn't announce she was coming, right? Like, they were just like, oh, hey, yeah, this is my +1. I didn't have a plus. Well, I brought a plus.
So I do not remember that detail from my read. If
I get it, I get it, and that's not the point of the story. But I feel like there's a little bit of like there's a little bit of a couple of faux pas that could be happening here.
Possibly.
And the latter one I've mentioned is probably the more...
I'm sure we have a couple patrons who would love to point out stuff we missed.
There's probably stuff we missed. Yes. I mean, this is what the Discord and the email us, Lore Together.
Also, I am boiling a novel down into 2 1-hour segments.
Look, I get it. But you understand where my brain is.
Actually, less than 2 or 1-hour segments, because the audiobook is only 2.5 hours, but I still have to cut stuff out so we can have conversation.
Well, I just want to point out that I think Atris has a knowable thought in mind. I think his execution is wretched. I think there's a better way to... He could have just stayed home and be like, I don't even know if she can come. I'm just going to stay home.
I think he just assumed that she could.
Yeah, that's a little rude, though, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know. I'm not 100% with
I think it's because Atris wouldn't forbade her. So I would Vivus. They're friends.
Because Atris is a good... Are they friends, though?
They are friends at this point. I
am missing a lot of context of, like, they've probably had conversations and all this stuff. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That makes sense. So he's got a friendship with her. He's understanding her. He's trying to teach her stuff, and she's like thankful. And then he's like, okay, yeah, since you're my friend and I think of you as my equal, you can equally come to this party, which I should have probably RSVP'd you to.
Well, Vivus and so Anna and Atris are friends.
Okay.
Vivus and Atris are friends.
Yes. And
Atris wants Anna and Vivus to be friends because it'll make everything much easier. That's kind of what he wants out of the trip to Kavir in the first place, where they kind of butt heads.
Yeah.
Is he's thinking to himself that I want them both to be friends. And
yeah.
No,
I know,
not like that.
It's not that. I'm sorry. That's what first came to mind. Yeah. That's a life lesson that's hard to learn. Not everybody's going to like everybody, and that's okay.
The next morning, after they leave his celebration, Vivis calls on Atris and apologizes, and also presents Anna with a gift, a small creature from his age.
Oh, she's still... Oh, I'm sorry. You can't come into this thing that was the whole center of my party, but I gave you a kazoo party favor. Is that better?
He does say that he was wrong.
Okay.
I think he is trying to save face. I don't think he fully believes it, but I think he does understand, like, what he did was rude and... Yeah.
I will say this. If you're not going to stop her from coming into the door, and then you're going to be like, but when all of us travel into this world, you get to sit here
with
the servants. Yeah. No, that part, yeah, I wouldn't, at that point, I wouldn't do that.
But as you have surmised, things are not resolved between Vivis and Atris, and they decide that they're going to talk that night.
Okay.
After they talk, Atris tells Anna that Vivis is against Anna learning anything about the art and ages, because she is not Dani. And this isn't like, I mean, it might be a little bit that she is, at least to Vivis, we don't know, that she is a savage or something, but he does like her to a degree. Like,
you're one of the good ones.
Sure.
That's the vibe I'm getting. That's toxic.
But at the same time, she is not Dani. This is a thing that the Dani have crafted and do, and... Yeah. So,
I can get the trepidation. First of all, I can get the trepidation of teaching her the art. It's something that you want to make sure is done with respect and reverence. But does everybody who is Dani learn the art?
I do not know that, actually.
Because that's my question, is like, is this more of a class thing than it is a like species-ish thing?
I think it might be a class thing as well.
Yeah. Because
there is talk later on that we'll get to about uplifting the lower classes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, this whole talk with Vivis kind of puts Atris in a bit of a bind. He can side with his friend. But that would mean giving up on his dream, and he shows her a Cortina, which is a blank book waiting to be written. We dealt with these in Book of Atris as well.
Okay, yeah.
He had hoped that he could write it with her.
Whoa, that's a pretty deep friendship.
And she asks him what he wants to do, and he wants to teach her everything. Everything that he knows.
Now... I know you're skipping a lot because it's a novel, but the vibe of their friendship, is it that like they are learning from each other and that's why he wants to share?
Honestly, yeah, they are both he wants to know about the surface world. He is enamored with the surface world. It's a bit like, it's kind of a little bit like Liara wanting to know Shepard. She's not interested in Shepard. She's interested in the data in his head, at least at the start.
At the start, yeah.
And I think that's what draws him to her, but then she is just like him. She is curious and inquisitive and intelligent and empathetic. And I think the two of them just work well with each other. And so that just kind of it's a feedback loop, strengthening the relationship as they go.
So he's able to recognize her humanity, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
Because of the fact that they're cut from the same cloth personality-wise.
Yeah, and that's partially why, when it came to the hearing, like, Vivis is staring at her the whole time with, as she says, hatred and vile and everything. And Atris is next to Vivis. And it's kind of funny. She says Vivis is more handsome.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
At that point. Not that Atris isn't handsome, but Vivis is more handsome, but is cold. And Atris is staring at her too, but not with any disgust or hatred, more curiosity.
Yeah.
So.
Which is the less attractive way to look at somebody. Let's be perfectly honest. I know if somebody's kind of like, if somebody has a "you're not my kind of person" thing, I don't know. I feel less objectified than if somebody's looking at me trying to figure out, ooh, how do you work? Like I'm an experiment. So I can get that, why that's true in her perspective.
Yeah.
But so no, I just wanted to get a sense of that, because I feel like when we went over the Book of Atris too, the whole romance between the younger Atris and Catron was like, it kind of like, when you told me there's like, oh yeah, and they went to one of her worlds and they kissed, I'm like, wait a minute, there was a romance part? Like, I missed all of that. And it's just because you're talking about novel and there's all the subtext
that we have to kind of skip over because we don't have time to cover like every single thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is a lot. There is a...
I'm sure. I just want to make sure that I'm asking more questions than I did in episodes 10 and 11, because...
We've been at this for 100 episodes more?
Yeah, exactly.
Months later, that's the other thing. We skip time a lot.
Yeah,
So,
I've noticed that's happening a lot in this book.
Months later, Vivus finds out what they're doing. Literally storms into the chamber and confronts Atris, saying he will take this matter to the council. And that's me boiling it like a page and a half down to one sentence. So like, yeah, you miss a lot of context.
Yeah, that's fair.
It doesn't go well. The council unanimously strips Atris's family of their ages, confiscating both Koa and the unnamed book in progress. They rule that nobody not of Dunny blood should see a book, let alone visit an age. Atris is also stripped of his guildmaster status.
Of course. Yeah, that makes sense.
Anna goes to Master Kedri. Master Kedri is the one that Atris was chaperoning, and they kind of had a bond ever since then. So this is the one from the Guild of Legislators.
Yeah.
And she asks if there's any precedent for non-Dani visiting ages before. You have to understand, the Dunny Empire at this point is 9,000 years old.
Whoa, okay.
And is a society founded on writing, so they have extensive records.
Yeah, and I hate to say this, but after 9,000 years, there's no way that hasn't happened before. There's just no way.
Kedri basically gets a whole class of new cadets, and usually he would just put them to normal training, and he's like, well, I got a project for them, and turns them to searching the thousands of years of records and council minutes for anything relating to non-Dani getting access to ages.
This is like when you're in law school and you get an internship to work on a big case or something, or like you work for a big firm or nonprofit. That's what this feels like.
Yeah. And one of them, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, finds a dusty tome from almost 2,000 years ago.
Okay.
They find a list of natives from guild worlds. So people who were natives to ages.
Okay.
Who had been permitted to link back to Dani.
Oh.
And link to other ages, and some of them had even been clerks to the Five Lords.
And that was 2,000 years prior.
Yes.
Okay.
This was mostly because this was a transitional era between the era of kings and the era of the council. This is like the early years of the council.
Oh, so while we're establishing our new government system, it's okay for us to do whatever we need to get set up. But now that we're set up and we have our power and it's now still solidified in our preferred center, you don't get to do it again.
Honestly, Master Kedri had no clue.
Oh, well, that makes sense. I mean, it's been 2,000 years. They get to
Right. So, literally, Lord Enea goes, well, that's the law. That is the precedent. We had people who weren't Dani visiting ages, so this council vote is null and void because the law is the law, and the law is based on precedent.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense. Wow.
Over the next few years, again.
So wait. So what happens to Atris's family's claim?
Okay, they do get their books back and
That's
all that
good.
stuff. Atris doesn't really come back to be a guild master. He's kind of sick of meetings.
I'd be soured off of it too, especially after I've done all this good work and proved how awesome I am, and then you got mad at me because I didn't break the law, and you didn't bother to look up if I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
So over the next few years, Atris teaches Anna to write, and together they write the link to the age Gemadet into existence. I think it's Gemadet. It could be Gemadet.
Mm-hmm. You got to say Gemadet, because if you say Gemadet, I think Jem'Hadar, and then I'm going to be a totally different space.
Gemadet. They have grown very familiar with each other in this time, definitely developing a romantic interest by this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not just friends. It's not romance, but it's romance, you know.
Those when friends accidentally fall in love thing. Yeah, no.
Their world together is one of firsts for Anna, who had only known the desert her whole life before coming to Dini. We got all different types of environments, and they explore it all over the place in this, discussing the age and ideas on how to change it. They will observe something and then both come up with words on what they could use to change it or make it different or make it better, or where is that coming from?
Okay.
That type of stuff. And they're filling out one of those commentary books as they go. She is also his superior when it comes to identifying the geology and rocks of the world.
She studied it for a long time. That makes sense.
Though he is her grader when discussing the underlying pressures and subterranean systems.
Again, it's based on all their previous work.
And they bond a lot over this entire nerding out.
This is like... Sorry, guys, I was writing a campaign setting with a friend, and when we accidentally fell in love.
Yeah. And I'm bringing this up because there's a scene in Book of Atris like this, but Atris is kind of dragged into dancing in the rain with Anna.
Oh.
And if you remember, in Book of Atris, there's a scene where Anna's dancing in the rain, and the younger Atris is... What is with this rain? What is
terrified?
Yeah.
Yes, because he doesn't know what it is.
So after the rain, they play Gemadet, a game that the age is named after.
Oh, okay.
It basically translates to 6 in a row, and it's kind of like 3-dimensional Connect 4, although you're connecting 6 in a row, and it's played on a cube. A 9x9x9 cube with little spheres that you kind of place around. Someone actually made one of these and brought it to Mysterium a few years ago. I found it online. It looked cool.
That actually sounds like a fun game to play too. Yeah, it'd be hard to figure out how to. You'd have to be able to walk around it to get it.
It rotates.
Oh, nice.
It like revolves. Yeah. So during all this, she is wrestling with thoughts. Atris is as old as her father and will live centuries more, but in terms of maturity in their society, they're equal.
Yeah,
you know?
That's true.
Atris has also been wrestling with the same thoughts and seeks counsel from Master Kedri again. After being assured of no legal impediment, Atris tells his father that he wishes to marry Anna, whom he affectionately calls Tiana, or storyteller, because she's been telling him all the earth myths and everything.
Oh, so she... Okay, yeah, I see that, yeah.
His father is concerned.
Yeah, I can go. Oh, see, so we were nice to an alien and then you fell in love with...
Well, it's not just that. How's this going to look? He's a guild master. Like, he's still high ranking in the guild. How's this going to look on the family?
Yeah, that's fair.
How is this going to act in terms of your ages? While you're still in your prime, she'll be an old woman. Like, and Atris is like, I can't imagine being with anyone else. Like, so his father says, even if you won't take my advice, I hope you will at least take my blessing. You know,
that's fair. That's not okay. That's nice. Aww.
Yeah. So all that remains is for the council to give their blessing as well, which is a formality.
Not a okay. This is bad. This is bad, though.
And most give their blessing.
Okay.
Some reluctantly, some enthusiastically, though there is one dissenting voice.
Let me guess. The friend is no longer really a friend, is he?
Vievis remains steadfast in his opposition to the reunion. And there's a whole thing, like Atris is just, I can't change his mind, and just kind of gives up. But
That's
then
fair.
his mother, it's kind of funny. There's this thing where Anna is always sure that his mother isn't in her corner until they get in trouble for starting writing.
Oh.
And her mother is like, no, you're staying here. Your family. Like,
I was like, oh, I became family?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's funny.
But his mother is like, go and fight for the person you love. Mm-hmm. And he's like, what am I going to do? And Anna's like, you don't have to. Don't go beg. But there may be other ways. So Atris goes to Vievis and uses his I saved your life play.
Oh, yes. How did I forget about that?
Reminding Vievis of his promise and pledge. And it's in front of his father, too.
Oh, wow.
Like his father just kind of, like in front of Vievis' father.
That's what I figured, yeah.
And this secures the marriage, but their friendship is completely destroyed. Vievis telling Atris whatever they once were is dead. All promises have been fulfilled. He never wants to hear from Atris again.
Okay, fair.
And like Atris then thanks him. Just like, thanks. And it's like, thank you, leave. You the sight of you is sickening me. Like,
Yeah. Okay. Vievis is in the wrong because he is motivated by prejudice. But I could see the story being told differently if Vievis was wrong because he was motivated by safety and some sort of like...
he says that he claims that he is, but
Yeah, it's not being written that way.
right.
I could see there being something like, well, like, we don't know. And also at this point, it's been years. She hasn't brought a plague. She hasn't brought ruin to the whole city. She hasn't done anything she isn't supposed to do, and she's acting within the same norms of their culture.
It is curious that you mentioned plagues and ruin to the city, but we'll get there in the next episode.
I remember from the little snippet from the Book of Atris, I'm like, oh, there's going to be some ruins to this city. Yeah.
Some years later, again.
Okay, so they're married now.
Yes. Atris is head of the more liberal wing of the council. Basically, they come to him for questions on some policy and stuff, and he is a highly regarded member of the council and is about to debate on a proposal that would help the lower class. Should also note, this whole proposal was helped by Anna kind of taking a lot of the council members who are backing this down into the lower city so they could actually see it.
Oh, interesting.
Giving you a sense of the stratification here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But she can't be there for this debate because she is a bit busy being in labor.
Yeah, that would be distracting. Yeah.
And he is distracted, but this is also important to her, important to him. Like,
so it's like they have like 2 children they're trying to get to the finish line right now.
So that's happening while he's arguing. In fact, he opens his argument with, as many of you know, my wife is in labor, so I'll have to keep this short.
King stuff right there. That's some true, like, I'm only here out of obligation. I would like to go home. Thank you.
Yeah. And Vievis opens. He has the first arguments here, and he is arguing against this proposal, arguing for the status quo as it has been for centuries and not wanting to wrest power from the very council they serve on. Basically, that's his fear that if we elevate the lower classes, then power will be diluted, and what happens to the government and all this stuff.
This guy's never heard of guillotine insurance, has he? Jeez Louise. Like, if you want people supporting you, be like, oh man, I'm sorry that you guys didn't have nice houses. Let me give you at least a decent roof. Like, at least a little something. And they'll be like, oh man, thanks. We won't ask for something for another decade.
Atris says that he actually agrees with Vievis in some parts because he doesn't want to destroy the council. He doesn't want to...
Oh, yeah, that's not his goal.
But he also wants to school the lower classes and provide more for them. He says a society should be judged by the quality of life of all its citizens.
Yes.
They have thousands of ages. there should not be a single Dani left wanting.
Yeah, I mean, they can literally write worlds that are just there for resources without afflicting, any kind of hardship on peoples in those worlds.
Now, there is some level of kind of like social welfare. People can get medical care, people can whatever, whenever they need it. Mm-hmm. But the lower classes still, they don't have their own ages, they don't write, they have public ages they can go to. So it's like it's a different type of, these people are not as well provided for because they have to rely on others to give them stuff.
Right. Well, if we don't have things like farming or hunting
and
or stuff like that, then
unless you go to an age. There's nothing in this cavern except for them and the algae that glows on a 30-hour cycle.
So it sounds like it's all about resource access.
Yeah.
So in theory, they have access to the things that will sustain them, but the ability to grow and thrive is not there.
Right.
Okay.
The vote is close. 182 for the proposal, 180 against. Now, when it's that close, the 5 elders are able to cast their votes.
Okay.
And all of them are in favor of the proposal.
Oh.
Safi had a very surprised look there.
Okay. All right, then.
Vivus protests, but stops, not pressing it. Basically, he just resigns to it. Yeah. Brooding later, he is made aware by one of his colleagues, friends. I can't remember the name. It starts with an S, and someone's going to have to tell me. But
okay.
Whenever this person showed up in the book, I was reminded of Grima Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, God.
He's just kind of there speaking in Vivus's ear.
Which, it just, with Myst Exile, you're like, oh, no, of course you went to that. That's, of course, where you went. Okay, that makes sense.
So brooding later, he is made aware of a man who goes by the Philosopher, a man in the lower city who hands out pamphlets and could stir up discontent in the lower classes. And is much more eloquent than Anna. He could really get them riled up.
Uh-oh.
He's also against the dirtying of Dani blood.
Okay, no. That's...
When told that the man's real name is Agaris, Vivus laughs as Agaris is a fraud. Vivus was on the council when he was punished. He knows the charges. To which his friend goes, that was 30 years ago. And it's like, it doesn't matter. He's still a fraud.
Yeah.
Vivus leaves, saying he'll be in a better mood in the morning. Later that day, Anna gives birth to a little boy, Gen, named for Atris's grandfather. So
the grandfather thing is a tradition.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had to parse that a little bit. It's actually later on they tell you why he's named Gen. It's his father's father's father, and I was like, wait a minute, so that'd be Atris's father's. So it's like,
yeah, the grandfather names. Yeah, it's a thing.
In the midst of the celebration, though, Atris is recalled to Dani. All guildsmen are to return to Dani. They have a monumental task ahead of them. 2 young members of the Guild of Maintainers have gone missing. And they suspect kidnapping or worse.
Oh, no.
All that is known is that they were investigating something of importance in an age. Things are made more clear when Atris returns to Dani. This is all basically in a message, but now he's getting more information from Master Jaderis, who is the head of the Guild of Maintainers.
Yeah.
He is not going to be investigating blindly. The missing maintainers took a selection of linking books, and only about 60 ages... I think it's a little bit more than 60 ages, but will need to be searched. So it's not all the ages. There's a finite number at least. They likely spotted something concerning during a routine visit, something that had changed since their previous visit. Atris has been requested by Lord Rakiri, again, Vivus's father, to investigate the books of his family, since Lord Rakiri feels Atris is above reproach, And if Atreus is the one investigating his family, they could avoid any blemishing of their reputation.
Well, that's no good. That's no good at all.
Well, basically, it's like you've always been an upstanding person in the council. You have no skeletons in your closet. Everyone knows about Anna.
Yeah, like your drama's out on the table. Yeah. But I don't like that it might become a point of manipulation for that house.
Vivas is actually incensed. Mm-hmm. I knew you'd get yourself into this position. You just have to meddle in our affairs and stuff, and is quickly told to stuff it by his father.
I'm sorry, I'd rather be spending time with my wife and newborn, and I'm called here because it's my duty. Thanks, guy. Thanks for caring.
Yeah, Lord Ricaria basically tells him to go to his room, and he'll talk to him later.
I know you might be 200 years old, but go to your room.
In the end, I think it's a month or two later, the maintainers aren't found, and Atreus finds nothing of suspect in the books of the Ricaria family. But that doesn't mean things are not in motion, and we'll have to get to that next time.
Ooh, yeah, something's happening. Excuse the big, sigh of frustration.
Excuse that sigh that peaked the monitor.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Yeah. No good deed goes unpunished.
Right.
Pretty much. Oh, no. I was just talking about this with my mother earlier today. The idea that things don't change is a fallacy. And people will constantly operate being like, oh, I have it figured out, so this is how it's always going to be. No, it's not always going to be like that. Things constantly change. There's no way that you could... It might be how the way things are for a time, for, a few years or so, but change is constant. It keeps going on and on and on.
Yep.
So to pretend like you're not... yeah, sure, change is going to be slower if you live to about 4 centuries.
And in a giant cavern underground.
Literally,
under a rock.
Your heads are in the sand. Literally, the entire time. But still, change is inevitable. Embrace it and shape it yourself. Don't, or as they say in some of my favorite books, they say, God is change, shape God. You give your own shape to the change if you embrace that it is an inevitable part of your existence.
Right.
All right. So, but that means in part 2, we're going to talk about how people are bad at that, and therefore conflict is inevitable.
Yeah, this is the prelude to the
oh my God, it's only Gen in these ruins.
No, we don't end with Gen in the ruin. We'll get there.
I know we don't end with Gen in the ruins, but when we get to the Book of Atreus, it's oh my God, it's only Gen in these ruins, and one other person?
But that other person is from an age. That's just his manservant.
What the...
So the fun thing is, I thought I knew the story based on reading Book of Atreus, the basics of it. It gets so much worse in Book of Tiana.
That's not great. I'm going to flip so many tables.
Then we have the Book of Dani, which is kind of the upswing on...
Oh, is this when Atreus is trying to reunite the Dani that are still around? Okay. All right, well...
Which may also explain why that one is a little bit more muddy, because there's just a lot of disparate...
Well, when you're talking about a multi-realm kind of society thing, there's no way it wouldn't get muddy. And then suddenly figuring out, well, I'm only a quarter Dani and I never learned the art. It's it's going to be all over the place. But part 2 is going to focus on the downfall of the Dani.
Yep.
And in the meantime, though, we will have... What are we going to play for our live stream? I don't know.
See, the thing that I would love to play for this would be either Uru or Myst 5, because at least with Uru, you'd get to see Dani, you'd get to whatever. But the problem there is then we're spoiling Uru. Can't play Myst 5 because then we'll spoil Myst 5. So I don't know. I leave that up to our patrons to decide. Because there's or our Discord members, Somebody will have an idea.
Yeah. Feel free. Let us know. And then for alternate Thursdays when we're not doing... So the Thursday...
Or, I just realized...
Wait. Getting interrupted here.
We could do Uru, but just limit it to the non-story part. Basically, because Uru is online, we can log on and you can be in the city where we're not going to ages and doing the story. We can explore Duni.
Okay.
To a degree. I mean, it's not expansive, but...
Okay. Well, let us know if you like that in Discord. So that'll be happening the Thursday after this is released to the public on our YouTube channel. And on alternate Thursdays, we do our Let's Play of Mass Effect an hour at a time. And we are currently...
On Vermeer. Big choices coming up, but unfortunately, by the time this goes live, they will have already been made. But we have more choices coming up after
There's
that.
always going to be... I mean, if you're doing a Let's Play... I'm surprised how fast we've gone through Mass Effect. It feels like we've gone through a lot of it already.
I feel like the first one is just not as long as the second and third ones.
The second and third ones, well, less companions.
Yeah.
Less, I mean, the plot points are a little bit more linear overall.
Yeah. I mean, we also discussed that when we were doing our Mass Effect Let's Play was Mass Effect 1, you have 2 loyalty 3 if you count Tali.
Yeah, exactly.
There's 3 loyalty missions for 6 crew members.
Yeah, exactly.
Mass Effect 2 and 3, everybody has a loyalty mission unless they're a DLC character.
Yeah. So I'm just surprised that we've got through it so fast. And you know what? The patrons are probably going to help us figure out what the next game's going to be anyway.
We still got more. We got Vermeer. We have 1, 2, 3 main story missions still. So,
okay. It's been a while since I've played it. So anyway, you can still join us for all of that on the alternate Thursdays. And if you're not able to join us live, it is on the YouTube at Lore Together.
Yep.
And you can watch it there. And of course, as always, every other week, more episodes of what you love. Lore of video games.
And novels.
and the offshoots of them.
It was funny. I was talking to one of my friends about this, and I didn't tell him what I was working on, but I said, it's a novel. And I just named off all the novels we have, because we have the novels for Myst, Elder Scrolls has novels, Dragon Age has novels, Dragon Age has comic books, Mass Effect has novels.
And comic books as well.
And comic books. Guild Wars has novels. So, what's the Shadow Warrior has a novel.
Yeah. We have the one for
Unreal, which I have to start recording again. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do.
There will always be lore for us to cover. Oh, Primal Rage has a novel. Let's not forget.
Which we do have now.
Yes.
Yes. Somebody was very awesome and uploaded it to archive.org. So Safi said that she would do an audio read of that. So.
Oh yeah, I did. You know what? I can make time for. I'm going to try to make time for that for you guys because I love you patrons. So. But in that platonic way. I have one husband. So
when are we going to have more episodes from Safi so that Mystic has not as many episodes to read?
I'm writing a fantasy epic. I don't know if you know this, but I'm kind of in the middle of that. After that's done, maybe.
Maybe? Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks so much. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.